Rossbrook House is a safe place for children and youth to belong, play, and learn and become.
Rossbrook House officially opened its doors on January 20th, 1976, on the corner of Ross and Sherbrooke in Winnipeg. What you may not know is that the idea for this unique community center began a couple of years before, a few doors down at 588 Ross.
Well, Rossbrook House had a strange and simple beginning. One day, Sister Jerry, Sister Mac, asked me, do I want to go for coffee? And we went to Robin's Donuts for coffee. And what we talked about was returning to the area in which our sisters, my community, the Sisters of the Holy Names, had first settled in, and that was what is known as Point Douglas now, and that was in 1874. And so from that cup of coffee, 3 months later, we were living on 104 Lorne Avenue in the North End. And we opened the doors, kept our eyes open, and we just saw what poverty does to people. The parents were really struggling against insurmountable odds. The children were on the street late at night. We stayed there for 4 years, and then it was obviously too small. It was a really dilapidated side by side, and it was really something else. But so we moved on to Ross Avenue. We opened the doors there when we moved, opened the doors wide. The difference between Ross and Lorne Avenue was it was a bit bigger, and my students had given us a pool table. Well, that news spread like fire. And soon, all these young people were coming to our home. And it was weird to me because here are these guys with tattoos, teenagers, hanging around nuns. I mean, I'm a nun, but I never would have been hanging around a convent when I was their age.
My friend I was hanging around with at the time, Juba, said, hey, you want to go check these nuns' place out?
I remember Sister Jerry asking them, like, what's going to make a difference? And they said, we need a place that is open in the evenings and on the weekends. There were 3 guys, and Sister Jerry and I headed down to City Hall. And so we sat there, and she, in her kind of straightforward manner, said, you have a choice. You choose life or you choose death. You choose either to continue as things are, and the kids will continue to get arrested. You're going to put them in jail, pay the money for that, or you can give them a building and let them experiment with their dreams. At that point, 658 Ross, which was this old church at the corner of Ross and Sherbrooke, was available, and the city didn't mind giving it to us because we didn't know at that time, but their purpose was to bulldoze it down because of the Sherbrooke-McGregor. So this, it was a generous offering, but it was limited in their mind, and we weren't totally aware of that. So it was a great day when we moved into Rossbrook House in January 20th in 1976. And those young people who were destined for prison and were so well known by the police became the founding fathers and mothers of Rossbrook. And that's the solid foundation in which we stand today.
A few years later, Sister Jerry gathered Rossbrook House staff, youth, and the community and took on City Hall to stop the construction of the Sherbrooke-McGregor overpass, which would have demolished homes and businesses in an already struggling neighborhood. Their efforts helped to guarantee a future for Rossbrook House. Sister Jerry and her fellow sisters believed in the staff and cared about the neighborhood youth. Many have described what they felt as unconditional love.
After a few years, they kind of made a handshake with the school system to, okay, we'll close at 1 in the morning in those days so that people could still go to school if they were going to school. But so many people were detached from the school system. They wanted to be there. It was their place.
Sister Mac cared, believed in us younger people, took direction from us in terms of what would you see, how could you see this place running, and who would it be for, and hours and whatever, right? And in the beginning we were 24/7. Is that obviously was in need.
We learned from the staff. I can't say what the staff learned. I hope they learned how valuable they are, how important they are.
She trusted in us fully. You know, I was young like that, and it felt good to be a part of an organization and to kind of be in there and running it.
They just didn't think a place like that could work because, you know, there'd be just too much time together, and people would get up to things. But I don't think they realized just how eager that early crowd was to be appreciated by somebody.
Rossbrook House has been a safe place for children and youth for over 50 years. Its doors are open 365 days a year for ages 6 to 24.
I found Rossbrook House in 1982. We had just moved to Winnipeg from Minneapolis. We found that it was a safe place, and at that time, that's what we really needed. I found out that they had a high school there, and we've been to so many schools. I think it was there that I found the strengths I had and had the opportunity to create my voice through the sisters, advocating and speaking at certain events.
My family's been involved since the beginning. My mom was a volunteer at Rossbrook. She was very close to Sister Jerry. She did a lot of the cooking for Rossbrook whenever there was big events. My brother Dale was a part of the beginning. I worked here. My daughter works here now. So we're connected. Like, Rossbrook's really important to us, and it probably is to a lot of other people. Like, it's given us so much.
Programs vary depending on the interests of the participants and have always included meals and safe rides home at the end of each evening.
My gosh, at the very beginning, it was a lot of playing crib, playing pool. There was ping pong. We converted the upstairs so that you could have a badminton court. I mean, badminton? Oh my God, the games that would go on. It was incredible. And then very soon developed relationships with other community resources, gyms and ice rinks and stuff like that. In the beginning, it was really just following the lead. Like, what do you guys want to do? And Sister Mac was very big about that. It's not her place. This wasn't her dream.
They come to Rossbrook House, they have meals, they're fed, they're being able to play in a safe place where they can. As soon as they come in those doors, they can leave whatever stressors they have. They can leave those at the doors and come in and just be kids. And that's an opportunity that people don't realize that a lot of our youth don't get.
Like, they can be a kid for a little while at least, and not to go home and, to raise their siblings or, but you want them to be happy for a little while.
At the end of the night, dropping people off. And if there wasn't a place for somebody to stay, looking for a place and being assisted a lot of times by the other people in the van.
Rossbrook House programs include 3 off-campus schools in partnership with Winnipeg School Division. These school programs helped hundreds of students feel safe and welcomed, and are as important today as they were in the early days.
We all know that if we hadn't had a chance to be educated in a safe place, in a place that we felt welcomed, we wouldn't be here today. And so that's how education flowed into the building.
Our community is not always the safest place for our kids. Our homes are not always the safest place for our kids. To be able to support our participants and having that option of that safe school, that smaller classroom size.
And that's where Sister Bernadette comes into the picture, because 2 years after the school had started, the Sisters of Zion moved back into Winnipeg, and I hired her as my aide, and we had fun. And we focused a lot on trying to make them proud of who they were.
I heard my mom and Dale talking about Sister Bernadette trying to start a high school. Sister B was giving up all hope of starting a high school, saying, well, how am I going to start a school without kids? And she said that very night I happened to come. And it got her hope up. And she's saying, okay, we got one.
Like, it was a different time in the early 80s, right? The amount of racism that we've experienced as youth. The sisters back then, I always say that they were already practicing acts of reconciliation back then with the kids. They were doing things out of love, and they wanted us to grow. And they showed us unconditional love.
Sister Margaret walks in. She goes, I heard you're looking for a job. And I was sort of like, what? Really? And I said, doing what? And she goes, working with me. And I'm going, where? And then she's like, we want me Goonie. 1 year, I'll give it a year. So I said, okay. And I ended up there 30 years. And it was the greatest thing in my life. When I started, I didn't even have kids or anything. And watching Sister Margaret work with these kids was just so amazing. And I think it helped me be a mom.
Long-running programs include van rides, Learning Always, Leadership, the Young Mothers Program, and drop-in music lessons. A new program for young dads has just begun.
We started up the Learning Always After School program. Just the kids were getting great relationships there and just loving it, loving the attention, I think of that daily contact. But I think of, the sports programs were fantastic, and they involved the youth so much. Like, even when we started up an intramural football program, people would treat it like, literally it was the Grey Cup, And I remember when we started up the music program, you'd come in on a music night and it was like fame, like it was just, everybody was having a good time, but they were also learning in an organic way.
I think it's really important for young moms because you feel like you don't really have the support, right? You feel alone. I think having that supportive space with other young parents is so supportive and helpful.
When school is out, Rossbrook House is open 24 hours, and that includes every weekend, plus spring break, winter break, and summer holidays. And summers at Rossbrook House mean letting kids be kids, with trips to the beach, pools, and playgrounds, as well as spending time at Camp Musqueam.
Musqueam is unique in the sense that it's sheltered in. You've got your own little space. You've got the river. We've had my boat that was a really big attraction. However, and there's little huts that the kids just magnated to, wanted their own house.
Hiring from within is something we're very proud of at Rossbrook House, providing employment opportunities for the youth by offering their first job as junior staff has been going on for decades and continues today.
We hired from within, and we hired our younger people, and we gave them an opportunity to be employed.
Hiring from within is so important because our staff know the impact they make in the lives of our kids. I see it today. I see the importance and the need to be able to provide and continue on with these opportunities to grow and flourish, but also to learn who you are as a young person and to build on those strengths.
The Rossbrook House Healthy Kitchen program offers children and youth an after-school meal every weekday. Weekends include 3 meals a day, and the recent addition of a self-service fridge ensures that nobody is hungry.
The kitchen is so important, and I love that they put the fridge out there so that kids have access without having to ask. Being able to come in when they're hungry and being able to feed themselves if the kitchen is closed, I love that.
Indigenous programming continues to grow at Rossbrook House. There are opportunities for participants to reconnect with culture in meaningful and hands-on ways, including an annual powwow that was started decades ago by Sister Margaret Hughes at Wee Wabigooney School.
The young people getting more a sense of their heritage, their identity that way. I mean, when I started, some people were ashamed in a deeper way, there's still a lot of racism today, but you see so many people gaining a greater sense of themselves through their cultural, getting back to their roots.
I want the kids to be able to know that they're seen, they're heard, but to be proud of who they are.
It was when Sister Jerry received the Order of Canada in 1983 that she first said the words, "No child who does not want to be alone should ever have to be."
No child who doesn't want to be alone ever has to be.
Jerry knew what it meant to be a child who didn't want to be alone and had to be. And she took that pain and transferred it into realizing that this I don't want. I had this, I don't want any other child to have this. So in '82, she asked me to go for coffee. And then she tells me she has cancer. She said, I know Rossbrook needs a different kind of leadership if it's going to go into the future. And as long as I'm alive, nobody will take on. Other people's gifts are not coming forward. And so I've got an option either to leave, but I will never do that because that would mean for the young people that I'm abandoning them. I will not abandon them. She didn't replace their physical mothers. They all had a mom, but she was a mother figure to them, and she loved them and they knew it.
For 5 decades, the staff have been making connections with the participants, guided by the legacy first created by Sister Jerry, her fellow sisters, and the young people who knew what they needed to make a difference in the community.
To wanting to give back, to want to help our youth know who they are in order to know where they're going, because I know how important that was for myself and my siblings and those around us.
Rossbrook House has a rich history filled with inspiring stories.
The future is these little kids that are coming. We want to give it to them, and we want to give them those memories.
The biggest thing that you want is for kids to hope for their future. In my latter years at Rossbrook House, and now when I visit, I see that kids grow up like, oh, I want to be this, or I want to be that. There's a hopefulness for their future, and I think that's what you want.
Rossbrook House provides more than just programs, meals, and a safe place for participants. Rossbrook House is also where children and youth can find strength, hope, and pride.
That it's a worthwhile place, that it has lasted 50 years because of its strong focus. No child who doesn't want to be alone should ever have to be. And board, staff have been faithful to that, and that is the guiding principle.
We wanted to provide a safe sanctuary for younger people, and basically all we did was try to meet the need as it arose over the years.
Everybody needs help, and I don't feel like we should be ashamed to ask for help or anything, and if we can help, we'll help. We'll find a way.
Really, at Rossbrook, you can make a difference.